Hey, what are you doing up here? What are you doing up here? Huh? Silly little cat. Silly Lee. I gotta come on, I gotta get start my project here. Huh? Check our wood spirit in this one, Lee.
So here I am once again. Here we are once again. This is a piece of cottonwood bark. I showed this on a couple of my videos. I did the epoxy pour in it. I mixed up some blue and a little bit of blue flake stuff, the micro powder. I had to do this in 3 pours. Excuse me. So I had to pour it like this. Let this. I did the. This is the deep pour stuff too, so it takes like 2 or 3 days to dry, but not properly cure. So I had to do one pour like this, then a pour like this. So you got 4 things there. I carved the holes deeper, then a pour like that. So it's ready to carve. It's the epoxy, it takes a good month for epoxy to properly cure or whatever. I don't know. I'm not no epoxy expert. But one thing I do know is I'm going to carve a wood spirit in this piece, and it's going to be challenging for me because with carving wood spirits, if there's no epoxy here, I like to carve lots of different depths and give the piece movement. This might have to be more kind of like what would the word be? Rectangle, a rectangle wood spirit. So its shape's not going to move around too much because if I carve too deep, I'm going to lose the color of this epoxy, and I want to make it nice, and I want to put an epoxy pour over top of it after too to get this stuff to really pop. So it's a challenging piece, but I'm excited. And this is the first one I've done. Like I've actually done a epoxy carving. David Grass. I did one with the light in it. I sent that to him for all his huge support on the channel. He's out there in Texas. But this one's a little bit challenging too because, like I said, you can't carve too deep. If I carve some of that epoxy out and you just see the wood, the bark, that's completely fine. But my main goal is I want the whole nose to be epoxy. I carved this pretty deep. I think it's like that deep in there. But anyways, this isn't going to be a how to carve a wood spirit video. There's tons of them out there. I just did one yesterday. I'll just show you guys the trials and errors. And let's see if I can make it look super cool. I like this piece the way it is right now. Like, I think it looks wicked. Just put it on the wall the way it is now. It's a piece of art. It sure is. I could sign it, call her done, sell her, or keep it myself. But that's not the goal here. I know I can do that again. The goal here is to see if I can carve a cool wood spirit in here and make those colors pop with the epoxy pour. So anyways, I got to decide which pen I'm going to use. And, oh yeah, here it is. Got it ready. Where do I want to put my eyes? This is the big thing. Where do you want to put your forehead? Where do you want to put your eyes? So I think my forehead will go right here. Then my eyes right here. I got to think, where's the deepest part of this epoxy pour right here? And where is the center of the piece for your center line for your nose? So on this piece, I'd say that normally the epoxy, the metalworking burrs, I like using those the best to carve this epoxy. But since there's wood involved, I'm going to be using the cut saw, make your nose a little bit longer. I'm going to be using the Kutzall Extreme Flame Burr, running a Dremel 4000. These burrs are not the best to carve epoxy because they leave lots of marks on it. Then you got to carve over it again to get rid of all the little marks. But they work good and they cut through it no problem. And the burrs don't dull up from the epoxy. The carving epoxy is good too because it's solid. You don't have to worry about soft spots in the wood. You don't have to worry about anything popping off. One thing I thought about this after I did the pour, maybe I should have done it with cedar because sometimes this bark gets pretty chippy and pieces can fall off like slate. But I think I chose a pretty solid piece. All you can do is carve. Just experiment, everybody. That's all it is. Just experiment. So I'm not going to be filming too much carving. I'll film a couple seconds, put the camera in the overhead using this cut saw bit. You'll see how white this stuff, this epoxy goes. And my focus here is to try and make it look like a cool wood spirit with as much of this epoxy left in here that I can leave. Always wear your dust mask when you're wood carving, especially 1000% epoxy. You're dealing with chemicals. You can even carving epoxy. You can even wear those Dr. Liv's gloves, and I wear long sleeves, but I won't be wearing the gloves because I like to get a good grip of the tool. So, but long sleeves definitely, and 100% dust mask. I won't be talking when I'm doing a little. I'll just show you guys me cutting in this line so you can see how white the epoxy goes when you start carving it.
Sorry, I don't have my microphone plugged in, but this is also tricky too for anybody that wants to try this, because pretend this epoxy is like cement and this wood's like pillows. So you're carving hard then it's soft, and it's really easy to push, try and carve deep where it's hard. Then once it gets soft, it's easy to get a big dent in there. So you gotta always watch. You always watch where your bit is and when it's transferring from the epoxy to the wood. So I do want to carve this so deep around this nose here. I don't want the epoxy to be in here. I just want it to be on the nose, but it's okay for some of the eyebrows. And then we'll try and keep it some of the mustache too. About down here, I really have no clue what will happen. You just got to try your best. Try your best with everything.
So this piece has been harder to carve than probably most of you would think. Like this cottonwood bark is so soft, and it's like I said before, cement and pillows. But I think I'm doing okay. I kind of went crazy on the hair up there this time. We'll call this guy crazy hair, because I tried to separate the colors in here. I just didn't want it to be like a blotch. Like, you see how this is kind of blotchy? I just kind of wanted to separate them. So that was one epoxy pour right here. I had to cut deep there to separate them. So now down here with the beard, I got as much movement down there as I want to make it. There's just Carve Rob side view. I hollowed out some of the bottom because I had a hole down there, in the back, so I hauled that out. I had a hole in there when I was doing that epoxy pour to hang it. I do say I want to, I did do a clear epoxy pour over top of this before I did any of the green to seal the wood so the green wouldn't bubble too much, but I'm sure there's going to be bubbles in here. I'm not going to be bothered by that at all. Now, what do I want to do for and this is just showing you guys how my mind works, and maybe you guys can get some ideas from me. I thought maybe because this is a nice solid piece there, maybe I'll just carve around that, make that piece stick out like it's a gem in there that's sticking out, and I'll carve the beard around there. I'm not going to do too much more. Like, I separated that enough up there, but I don't think I need to separate it too much more down here. So I'm going to carve around this piece, the wood around it, make it stick out farther, and then I'll carve the beard hairs around it and kind of, maybe I'll even, yeah, so that's what I'm going to do next. Anyways, love to read you guys' comments. All right, so I've got it all carved. It's like, looks like a jewel down here, but it is what it is. It's not shaped like a jewel. Don't care. It just kind of sticks out farther off the piece. I'm pretty well done carving. I still got to carve the eyes. But what I'm going to do now is sand it. First, actually, I got a little bit more carving to do. You can see how this piece right here, this kind of has like a square edge going that way. I'm going to carve that deeper, get rid of that edge. And then I'm going to sand it with this, with my Dremel. Turn your Dremel down really low for this. This is Scotch Brite on a sanding mandrel. This sands the epoxy really good, and it sands the bark really good because the bark's so soft. But when you're sanding with this Scotch Brite, I want to say something for the very beginners. If you don't know what Shosugi ban is, Shosugi ban is when you burn the piece really deep, and then you use Scotch Brite or a nylon wheel to get rid of the black burn, and then you get the different grains, and the grains separate like steps. This kind of does that without even burning it. So you have to kind of keep an eye on that, but not too much on this bark because the grain is so tight. But it does do that even if you don't burn the wood. So I'm going to sand it, carve the eyes in it, and then hopefully I ordered more epoxy sculpt, and we'll put the epoxy sculpt on it. And this, I'll have to finish this video tomorrow or the next day, but that's fine. I have to give it 2 or 3 coats of the epoxy sculpt. Not epoxy sculpt, sorry. Just pour on epoxy, just like this stuff right here. This is the Magic Resin Craft and Art epoxy. It's like $22 for a thing like this. And it's easy. You just mix it 1-to-1. So anyways, like there's another tube of it. So I'll sand this. One thing I never do is toot my own horn. You'd say, is that the saying, toot or blow my own horn? But when it comes down to sanding, I know how to sand like the best. I'm just always too lazy to sand, but I did my best to sand this piece. So this is what we got. Oops, did I miss some spots there? Yep, I did. Right in the middle of the screen. I can't sound like the best. I'm just too lazy, but that's good enough for me. So now I got to see. Oh, I also signed it and dated it and put the hole in the back. Now I got to see if that I ordered some more of that stuff, epoxy. See if it's downstairs yet from Amazon. Come on, get in the friggin' hole. Get in the hole. There. Okay. So the epoxy pour is complete. Now, question you got to ask yourself, do you love the piece? No, I don't love it. It's I think the bark went a little bit too dark. I like it, but I don't love it. Just so you know, I will do another epoxy pour on this. Get the real smoothness of the epoxy. I don't know, it just depends. This is what I put on the back as one of those hangers. Just depends if you like really shiny stuff. I think personally it took away a lot of the detail in the eyes. You can see there, let's give it a... I think it's neat, but I don't love it. I think I should have left some of that epoxy around where the eyes are, and I could have carved one of the eyes in epoxy. Yeah, I got to do one more epoxy pour. That's that. That's that. Let's give it a light view from a different light. See if it's anything different. Yeah, it's neat. It's different, but I don't love it. I think the cottonwood bark went a little bit too dark. So that's that. If you like really shiny stuff, that's how you make one of your carvings really shiny. I also epoxy poured this one to get those colors to pop out. And there's some flat spots in here where the wood was a bit softer, so I got to do another pour on both of these. This is the spalted basswood that I carved. I like this lighter wood with the epoxy on it a lot more than I like the darker wood. Now I'm going to show you the whole bug hole wood face carving I did, like the Pirates of the Caribbean dude. I did some more epoxy pour carvings on it, and I'll show you what I did, the effect that I was going for, and I love it. You might not like it, but I love it. Okay, stand by. Okay, so what I did with this one is I did like 2 different epoxy pours with the color blue because I wanted it to look like he was coming right out of the water, and the water was dripping off his nose. I still got to do one more clear, but yeah, I think that's super neat now. Super neat. I like it. This piece I made for myself. You can see all the water dripping off his eyebrows and stuff. This one I made for myself. If I was going to sell that, I'd have to sell it for a lot of money, but I don't know. I think it's just a neat character, and I'll hang it up. It would have been cool to get some lights in those holes. I still have to carve a couple little worms coming out of there, but I didn't want to epoxy the worms. So we got this all epoxied. We'll have the worms kind of dull. But there's some epoxy pour carving for you guys if you like the really shiny effect. Now, one thing with the epoxy, if you don't like the shiny, just get yourself some matte clear finish and spray over top the epoxy with the matte. Let's see if we can give you a side view this way. Shadows are in the way. Let's do this. I think it's neat. It's just something different. And I'll tell you one thing right now. There's nothing else in the world like that. There's lots of wood spirits in the world, but not like that one. Or like this one. Or even like that one, because they're carving fusion wood spirits. Like I say in lots of my videos, you guys, your wood spirits will be your wood spirits. They won't be mine. So don't try and think you need to make yours looking like mine. And anyways, that's that. There's some epoxy. Oh, there's one more I did. I'll show you quickly. There's this guy too. I did hit that in, remember I did this live? I did some of the carving live. But yeah, so I put one coat of epoxy on this fellow. Look how dark the wood was, and it was really light. That's one more thing too. You do not need to put a wood finish on your carvings for indoors or outdoors. Like, you do not have to give them a wood finish. That's just something I say, and I've ruined lots of carvings by giving them finishes. Sometimes they look better without a finish. Like, if you do a carving, it doesn't have a finish, just warn the people that are buying it. There's no finish on it. You might want to have it outside in a shady area where the sun doesn't hit it, or keep it indoors. Carving fusion. What was that? Carving fusion. Over. Pirates of the Caribbean. Bug hole man.